Hey folks, Sue Kemple here. And you know how when you click on most of these videos, you have to sit through some long, drawn-out rags to riches story from some slick presenter before you even get to whatever it is he or she is supposedly going to do for you? Well, this video isn't like that. Because if you've been looking for simple, proven and tested, step-by-step methods for generating more leads for your business, then you don't want to hear all that BS. You just want simple, proven and tested, step-by-step methods for lead generation. So listen to every word in this short presentation. I promise none of them will be wasted on fluff. So what we're going to talk about today is generating leads, okay? All small businesses need leads, but nowadays it's very hard to figure out how to do it most efficiently, right? We are just bombarded with so much information. There's social media, there's SEO, there's pay-per-click. Do I do it on Facebook? Do I do it on Instagram? Do I go on LinkedIn? And on top of it, I feel like we've got this problem of what I call the woo-woo gurus, who are the people who step in and they promise you the sun and the moon and everything in between to help you build $1 million business, but they can't give you one grounded strategy to generate one single lead. And listen, we're going to take all that overwhelm off of your plate today, okay? We're going to focus on the Pareto principle. Now, the Pareto principle is better known as the 80-20 rule. You're probably familiar with this, right? So in life, generally, the Pareto principle states that 20% of our effort in anything yields 80% of our results. When we're talking about small business, what this refers to is that 20% of the things that you're doing in your business every day are basically yielding 80% of your revenue. Okay? Now, I happen to know what makes up that 20%. Okay? It's 5 components, and I'm going to run through them real quickly for you right now. The first one is leads. We've already mentioned it. You have to get people interested in what it is you're doing, or how can you possibly build a business? Of course, just as important, if not more, is converting a good number of those leads into clients, because if you're not generating revenue, you just have a hobby. It's not a business. Once you have people on your books, how many times can you bring them value and generate more revenue? Because it's always easier to take care of a customer you already have than it is to bring on a new one, although bringing on a new one is not as hard as you might think. The fourth component is pricing. Generally speaking, we want to ask, are you charging enough to reflect the value of what it is that you're bringing to your clients? And the fifth one is profits. At the end of the day, after all is said and done, are you putting enough money in your pocket? Now, altogether, we call this the 5-step profit formula. And the truth is, all a business needs to focus on is generating more leads, converting more of those leads, enacting more transactions, charging higher prices, and making all of that come together at the end to generate more profits. Okay, so in this presentation, we're going to focus on just one component of this and one strategy within one component, which is, of course, lead generation. Now, if I were to ask you how you generate your leads, what would you say to me? I'm not sure what you'd say to me, but I could make a guess, because most of the folks I talk to tell me that they get most of their leads from referrals, networking, kind of just going out there in the space. And you know what? It's the best thing to do, is to get a lead through a referral. They make the best clients. I think it starts with a warm relationship. It's probably the best client you're going to put on your book comes from a referral. But the problem with referrals is they're not reliable. You can't generate them whenever you want. You've kind of outsourced your power to somebody else sending you leads, sending clients your way. You really need something that's a little bit more solid, something you can really depend upon if you're ever going to automate the lead generation process. And so a lot of folks think, well, that's why I have my website. So let me ask you about your website. Can you tell me exactly how many leads your website has generated over the past year? Can you tell me how many sales your website has generated over the past year? Once again, I can probably guess not too many, and probably none. And the reason why is that most websites are not designed to generate leads and sales. Did you realize that? I think that most small businesses don't. That's why we have them, because we think that that's what they're going to do for us. But they don't do it. And there's one simple reason why. Because the key to successful marketing is that you must be able to enter the conversation that's taking place in the head of your prospects. You must be able to address the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time. And you might think this is tricky, or that you need a crystal ball, but you don't, because it doesn't matter what you're selling. The conversation that's taking place in every prospect's mind revolves around 2 major points. First, there's a problem they have and they don't want. And second, there's a result they want but they don't have. Now, we've actually come up with an equation that takes these 2 points into consideration. And it has 4 components: interruption, engagement, education, and an offer. And let me break this down for you so that you understand what this means. So the interrupt is your headline. The headline has to be the first thing that someone sees when they come to your website, when they see any of your marketing material, whether it's a business card or a brochure, or when they hear you speak. What the interrupt has to do is address that problem your prospects have and they don't want. The second component, the engage, is the subheadline. So this needs to be the second thing that your prospects see or hear, and it has to address the result your prospects want but don't have. The third component, the education, is pretty straightforward. So this is basically just the information you're going to provide, either verbally or in writing, that gives your prospects evidence that you have the answer they're seeking, that you're the one who can solve their problem, that you are different from the rest. Now, the problem is today that most businesses don't stand out from each other, okay? Most businesses are not unique. They're all the same. What you need is a market dominating position. You may have heard it called a unique selling proposition, but we call it a market dominating position, and you have to establish it in this equation. And the fourth thing that you do to underscore this is by creating an offer. So an offer is a compelling call to action. It's got to be something that's so compelling that your prospects find it irresistible, and they're more than willing to give you their contact information in exchange for it. But we have another problem when it comes to marketing in this day and age, and that's marketing saturation. And I know you know what I'm talking about. Because of the saturation of marketing messaging these days, it takes multiple touch points before your prospects are going to buy what you sell, because most prospects are numb to most marketing these days. I know I am. You probably are too. Now, with standard marketing and advertising, and when businesses do business as usual, it takes anywhere from 20 to more than 100 touch points before a prospect makes their buying decision. Think about that for a minute. 20 to 100 touch points they have to see your message before they decide whether or not they're going to buy from you. Now, if you employ the conversion equation, that reduces the touch points to somewhere between 5 to 12 points of contact. Okay? Makes it a whole lot more manageable. Here's the thing though, most businesses don't follow up with their prospects at all, and this provides a huge window of opportunity for any business to position itself as a dominant force in their industry and to create that market dominating position. You see, most businesses offer something that only appeals to prospects we call now buyers, prospects ready to make an immediate purchase. Now, unfortunately, now buyers make up less than 1% of the total number of prospects who are in the market to buy what you sell. These businesses typically offer a free consultation, a discount, a coupon, something along those lines, or they make the biggest mistake of all. They say, call us. Now, for most businesses, all of their marketing material, their website, their business cards, their brochures, they all list their phone numbers, their sole or at least primary offer, and that only appeals to that 1% of now buyers. The remaining 99% of viable prospects are investigating and gathering information about what you sell. They're searching for information because they want to determine who is offering the best value. You see, prospects don't shop price, they shop value. Remember what I said earlier about making your business unique and creating a market dominating position? Well, most businesses don't do that, and since they and all of their competitors look exactly the same, prospects wind up being forced to shop price. So let's take the example of a very typical website you'd find on the web. This one is for a child psychologist. Now, frankly, this is a typical website for any profession, but notice the generic headline, Parenting Advice and Resources from Dr. John Smith. Now, he has to have a headline like that because he's attempting to be all things to all prospects. Basically, this doctor helps parents deal with adolescent problems. Look at the 9 areas he services. Behavioral problems, peer pressure, bullying, self-esteem, so on and so forth. So let's compare this site with the fundamentals we just discussed, which is first, you must create a market dominating position. And I mean, really, this doctor could actually create 9 market dominating positions by simply positioning his specialty in each of his 9 individual areas of treatment. But for starters, let's say he decides to target the top condition on his list, emotionally disturbed kids. Now, these are kids who yell, scream, and constantly have a highly belligerent attitude toward their parents. In some cases, such children might even be threatening their parents. These kids can't be reasoned with, and their poor parents have no clue how to deal with this situation. Parents like this are desperate, and they need clear, concise, targeted information from a professional trained to deal with these kinds of matters, and they need it immediately. So here's what this doctor needs to do. Just forget the website completely. This doctor needs what we call a squeeze page. This is a single page that specifically addresses only this one condition. Why? Remember the second fundamental. You must enter the conversation taking place in the head of your prospect. There's a problem, just one they have that they don't want, and there's a result they want, but they don't have. So here's a squeeze page that would effectively replace that generic website. Now notice the headline. Are you sick and tired of the yelling, screaming, and belligerent attitude of your child? Now, do you think that headline addresses the problem these parents have and they don't want? Now take a look at the engage, which is the subheadline. It's got to address the result they want but they don't have. Notice it says, now you can discover the secrets to controlling your child and instantly restore peace and quiet in your home. Now, does this present the solution the parents want but don't have? And now let's look at the third conversion equation component, educate. In the doctor's original website, because he's trying to appeal to all prospects, his video said this: "Greetings, parents. I want to welcome you to Remarkable Parenting. You will find tons of great information here with hundreds of pages of articles." And I mean, think how ridiculous this sounds if I'm one of these parents with a kid who has a belligerent attitude. Do I want to read hundreds of pages of articles, or do I want an immediate solution? Now, do you see why most websites these days are basically a total and complete waste of money? They may look pretty, but they don't address the things your prospects are truly looking for. Here's a much better script that would work. As a parent, are you struggling to gain control of your child's attitude and emotions? Is your child yelling and screaming at you while often displaying a belligerent and sometimes threatening tone that no matter what you do or try, you just can't seem to get under control? Well, my name is Dr. John Smith, and I help parents like you every day learn the techniques that will solve these frustrating and destructive behavioral patterns once and for all. In fact, let me prove it to you. Enter your first name and email in the box to the right, and I'll send you a series of 60-second techniques that will immediately restore peace and quiet in your home. Now, do you think that just might get more prospects to respond to this message? And that brings us to the final component of the conversion equation, the offer. Now, look at the doctor's original offer. It was for a free consultation. Remember, the only prospects who will accept that type of offer are those now buyers. And remember that they are less than 1% of the total number of prospects looking for this type of help. Sure, they're desperate, but he hasn't got any reason on this page to convince them that he's the one they should go to for that help. And the thing is, when your offer is to call me, that basically says, let me sell you to your prospects. We're so used to getting nonstop sales pitches these days that we resist calling anyone with every fiber of our being. Most people these days won't answer their phone unless they recognize the caller ID. I mean, I don't. Bet you don't either. This type of offer is called an incentive offer, and incentive offers work, but they only work for common purchases, impulse purchases, and emergency situations. And remember, this is key. Most prospects don't buy until they have been exposed to your messaging somewhere between 5 to 12 times. If you tell prospects to call you, and most won't, how do you keep marketing to them? Obviously, you can't. The secret to effective marketing is to offer what most prospects truly want: information. Take another look at the last sentence in the revised video script. Enter your first name and email in the box to the right, and I'll send you a series of 60-second techniques. Listen, that offer is zero risk to a prospect, and it offers them something they truly want: a solution to their problem. They can receive it by simply providing their name and email address without having to speak to anyone or be subjected to any type of sales pitch. That's why the offer on this Dr. Squeeze page says, learn the secrets to gaining and maintaining complete control of your child in less than 60 seconds. Now, look, as a former principal and as a parent, I have never heard of a parent gaining complete control of their child, but what they want is control of the behavior. So that is a highly compelling offer that would appeal to a majority of the prospects directed to this page. And do you see now why we call this a squeeze page? There are no navigation buttons on this page to distract the prospect. In fact, there are only two actions they can take: enter their contact information or click off the page. And if they do click off the page, we can redirect them to the doctor's main website to see if there's something else that might grab their attention. Because, to backtrack a bit, it's not that your main website has no purpose. That is where you have your real estate on the web, where you establish your legitimacy. And if you do have a lot of information to share with people, that's where you want to keep it. But cold traffic should never be directed there, because you will lose your prospects every time. What you need is a squeeze page, and one with an informational offer that provides your prospects with proof that you can get them the results they're looking for. That's what this doctor has done here. And within the information that he sends them, then he can put an offer to schedule a consultation with them, because they're more likely to do it now. But let's take a look at how this works in terms of lead generation. We're going to consider the numbers for the doctor's original site. With the right ad, he could easily generate 300 or more leads per month using a paid per-click campaign on Facebook. Now let's send those leads to his original website and say an average of around 10% of those leads, or 30 prospects, will see his offer for the free consultation, and they'll call to inquire about it. Now notice I said inquire about it, not request it, because that's a big investment. Out of the 10% who might call, only 10% of them will actually consent to the consultation, which equals 3 prospects. Now, fortunately for most professionals like this doctor, they typically convert 100% of the prospects they get in front of, because anyone who's made it that far down the buyer's journey isn't shopping anymore. So those 3 prospects will more than likely become patients. Note that out of 300 leads, the doctor winds up with 3 new clients. And that's the national average today. 1% of all leads generated will typically convert into a new client. And that's a tough way to build a client base. But now let's look at the doctor's new squeeze page. So first of all, let's leave his number of leads at 300 per month, because the squeeze page won't impact that number whatsoever. But do you think this new page will increase the number of prospects that'll request this doctor's secrets to gaining and maintaining complete control of their child? The doctor was getting 10% requests with his old site. What percent do you think would request this new, more compelling offer? Now, most responses I get average somewhere between 50 to 70%, and I think that's probably pretty accurate, because it's a pretty compelling offer. But suppose we stay really conservative and say that just 20% will request the new offer here, okay? So that would mean 60 prospects would receive those secrets and actually see for themselves that this doctor's methods really work. And once they do, what percent of those do you think might request the consultation with the doctor? Remember, originally we said it was just 10%. And again, most responses I get average somewhere between, say, 30 and 60%. And I would tend to agree with those numbers. But we know he originally converted 10%. So to be really conservative, let's just leave that conversion rate the same at 10%. So out of the 60 prospects requesting the doctor's secrets, 6 of them now request the consultation. And let's assume, like we did originally, that the doctor converts all 6 of them into patients. That's an additional 3 patients per month, right? So let's say this doctor charges $600 for a month's worth of therapy sessions, which is fairly average. And then the math gets pretty easy. 600 times 3 new patients is an additional $1,800 per month, which is an annual increase of $21,600. Now, that's obviously a dramatic increase in revenue, considering we're being ridiculously conservative, and all we did was make some slight changes to this doctor's site. So think about your business. How do you think this might work for you? Well, I'm sure you have some ideas, but we haven't even scratched the surface. I didn't even cover all the things that I talked about in the beginning of this short video that are so important for you to generate leads and really begin to ramp up your revenue very quickly. And as a matter of fact, there's so much more I could show you, and I would love to be able to have the opportunity to do it. So if you're interested in learning how I can find at least $10,000 in 45 minutes for your business, just get on my calendar. We'll schedule a time. I'll find it for you specifically. Oh, and yes, I will probably find a good deal more than $10,000. In any case, I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Please get on my calendar. I'd love to show this to you.